Imposter syndrome is the super common phenomenon of believing you're not as good as other people think you are, or you're constantly waiting to be found out as a fraud. In this video, we'll give you the tools to kill off your imposter syndrome and help you achieve your career goals. Imposter syndrome has been around since the 1970s, which coincidentally is around the time that women were first making their inroads into the corporate world. Although often aligned to women, imposter syndrome can be experienced by anyone at any time. It may be more prevalent where you feel like the working environment doesn't suit you or isn't aligned to who you are. There are 8 signs you can look out for if you're wondering if you've got imposter syndrome. The first is self-doubt. If you're constantly worrying about your own abilities or how you stack up, you may be experiencing self-doubt. Number 2, inability to realistically assess your own skill set. Research shows us that women have to be comfortable with 90% or above of elements on a job description before they apply for the role. But for men, this is only at 60%. So if you're ever experiencing this, consider whether or not you have enough of the requirements to get you to that 60%. 3, attributing your success to other factors. It may be the market, luck, or your teammates. Oprah has a saying, which is luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So next time you're tempted to chalk up your success to some other factor such as luck, think about actually how did you prepare for that and how did you make the most of the opportunity. 4, berating your own performance. Do you ever relive past mistakes or things you could have done better in your own head? Well, that might be a sign that you're experiencing imposter syndrome. 5, fear that you won't live up to your own expectations. You may find yourself really over-preparing for situations, or indeed turning down projects and opportunities because of your fear of failure. If you're worried about your own performance rather than those around you, perhaps you're experiencing imposter syndrome. 6 is the classic overachieving. You may find yourself burning out as you hold yourself to very high standards across all areas of your life and trying to burn the candle at both ends. 7, sabotaging your own success. Perhaps you take on too many projects or spread yourself too thin, potentially getting in your own way and setting yourself up to fail. And finally, 8, setting yourself very challenging goals, or indeed comparing yourselves to other much more established colleagues. This often happens earlier in your career and means that you feel like a failure if you haven't achieved all that they have done. Imposter syndrome is an overarching term and can be experienced by different people in different ways and at different times. There are 5 broad types of imposters. Number 1, the perfectionist. If you feel like you can always do better or you never achieve your goals, this may be you. The superhero who's compelled to work as hard as possible and often makes up for others' deficiencies. The soloist who prefers working alone and feels that asking for help is a sign of weakness or incompetence. The genius, which may be you if you set very high goals for yourself. Interestingly, you don't expect the same standards of others. And finally, the expert who's always seeking to learn and develop. However, they don't recognise the skills and expertise that they already have. So now you recognise that you may be suffering from imposter syndrome, what can you do about it? The first thing you can do is consider how much of a flaw it really is. If you're agonising over a past mistake or a failure, consider, will this matter in a year? If it doesn't, then just spend 5 minutes thinking it over and move on. If it is something that's going to matter to you in a year, then take it as a learning experience and think about what you can do better and the actions you can take to stop it happening again. When attributing your own success to luck or other factors, ask yourself, is this true? What would you say to a friend who was saying the same thing about her work? If you're feeling sensitive to some criticism, write down what that feedback actually was. Then close that book and leave it alone. Come back in a week, reread it and see if it's actually got some truth in it. If it has, use it as a learning experience. If it hasn't, just move on. If you're worrying about being a fraud or a phony, talk it over with someone at work who you trust. If they value your skills and experience, perhaps you should as well. If you find yourself downplaying your expertise or skills in an area, stop and take a step back. Ask yourself if it's true or whether or not you're doing it to make others feel better, and if you should be backing your own ability more. It's really useful to build a toolkit to help you deal with imposter syndrome on an ongoing basis, and here are a number of ways you can do it. Sharing your feelings with someone who you trust at work. You'll be surprised at how many other people experience this and how common it is. Take baby steps and focus on progress, not perfection. Being perfect is not achievable for any of us, however, continually developing and learning is. Create a folder on your computer where you can record positive messages from clients and feedback from peers. Then, if you're having a bad day or you're going into an important meeting, revisit these messages and remind yourself of your skills and ability. Not continually comparing yourself to others is a really effective way to help beat imposter syndrome. And remember, all people, no matter how seemingly confident, have experienced self-doubt at some time. Leave a comment below to let us know how imposter syndrome has impacted upon you and what you did to tackle it. I'm Liz, and this is my channel Simplification, where we give you the tips, tricks and hacks to help navigate your career and help you overcome challenges.